creators, welcome back to the club. We're your hosts. I'm Ebony Chapman.
And I'm Akila Friends.
You guys, we have a guest who is just as strong as the products he sells. He has been featured on Oprah's Favorite Things list in 2020, has survived cancer, and is the founder and Chief Vision Officer at an exclusive luxury vodka brand, Carbonadi. Okay, he's been running this since 2013, so let's give him a warm welcome.
Rickey Miller III, welcome to the club.
Yes.
That intro is fire.
Yes.
Listen, that's what we do here at the Black Creators
Always.
Club. We like to pump up all our guests.
Nothing but the hits.
I love that.
Love that.
Yes. We're so Rickey, we're so excited to have you.
Everything is mutual, I promise you.
Yes. Okay. So I know my intro totally blew everyone out the water. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But please tell us a little bit more about like yourself and how you even got interested in vodka, and then kind of like your journey to where you are right now. So, you know, you like I mentioned, you survived cancer. So like, let's start there and then figure out how we got here.
So one, I can talk forever. So I'll give you like the short version. I work best off of questions and going. Otherwise, I'll go off. Have you seen the latest Kanye interview on Drink Champs?
Yes, of course.
So like I get like that. I start running off, and you get lost, and you like kind of like laugh and smile and shake your head, but no. So just ask questions. But so I'm 37 years old. Grew up in Orange County, Tustin, California. Single mother household until I was about five or six. Got a great stepdad, got lucky. Knew I was an entrepreneur from day one. Didn't know what it was gonna be, like how I was gonna do it, what I was gonna do. I actually thought I was gonna be an athlete first, and played college, sports and a little bit of pro, but had to move on at an early age. Didn't go quite as far as I wanted, but it wasn't as not tragic, but it wasn't as bad as it can be for aspiring athletes, because I already had entrepreneurship in my blood. It was just like, okay, now it's the time for the next chapter. Whereas a lot of athletes, like that's their first and only plan. And
sport, by the way, not to.
What's that? I played football.
Football.
Yeah, I played football.
I guessed.
and so I grew up in Tustin, California. Went to school. Was never a big fan of like school or anything. I had no interest. Like now I have interest in like going back to finish school and taking things that can help me do what I want to do. But back then I saw no value in it because it didn't help me with what I was trying to do at the moment, And so fast forward, after football, I didn't have it was hard for me to find another passion. I knew I wanted to do something entrepreneurially. I knew I wanted to be insanely wealthy, not just to be insanely wealthy, but to be able to make, like I always say, I want to be a billionaire, not to be a billionaire, but to make billionaire level impact. Like my prayer every morning and every night is for God to give me everything so I can give everything. And that's like, I lived that, and that's, so I feel good about going to get it with like unapologetic, ferocity, and so, I struggled to find a true passion after football. Fell into beverage marketing because I knew I wanted to really help people. And one of my first products that I got into was I came across this study in how like Black folks and just minorities in general, people with darker skin, struggled from vitamin D deficiency, and it was the root of all systemic disease, and so a lot of systemic disease, and so created this like super high power multivitamin. That was like a big dose of vitamin D, and it was like literally like the Rolls Royce of multivitamins. Like, and I really wanted to, really impact people's health, but it became hard to market a multivitamin. And us as a culture, like multivitamins don't excite us, and just in general, right? So I'm like, what? Let me. I tried to wrap it. I said I wanted to wrap cool around it. So like, a really cool bottle, shiny gold cap. We were gonna do, we were on this radio tour to like promote it, but it got too hard. So I was like, let me pivot and do a vitamin D infused sports drink. Maybe I can attach some athletes. It's an easier delivery system. If I can get it to taste good, people will just drink it because it tastes good, not necessarily just because it's vitamin D. So long story short, I fell in love with beverage marketing and creating a brand that people would want to drink and identify with. And so, started a few businesses, fell on my face, but I learned a lot. And in the process, learned that I really loved to brand. Like that was my favorite part. And so it became, through all these experiences and seeing different things and what people were doing, what was happening in the market, it became my dream to create a high-end spirit. There was a guy named Bernard Arnault. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bernard, but Bernard owns Louis Vuitton, like LVMH. He's one of, I don't know what it is now, but at one point, I want to say like 5 years ago, he was one of 3 people that was worth over $100 billion. And he owns LVMH, which owns all the the Belvederes, the Dom Perignons of the world, but Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, all the luxury goods, right? And so I'm like, man, I like, I like what he's doing. So studied him for a while, studied some other folks, and knew nothing about the alcohol space, and just jumped in with very little knowledge, just a very high passion and desire to create it. And so I think, I'm very aware of what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I am very resourceful. So, I can find out how to do something, fairly quickly, and jumped in and made a lot of mistakes and didn't have any money. So I had to go out and I had to create a product that people were willing to put their money, willing to invest in. Then I had to go get that money, and then I had to execute, and, so that was 2013, so 8 years later, I probably raised in the ballpark of like 3.5 million, like over like 3 different raises. And a lot of that money, I wouldn't say it was wasted, but I learned a lot on that money. And now we're spending a lot more efficiently. We're operating a lot more efficiently. And it's become a thing. I was very wary about coming out as a Black founder early on, because it was more my dream of creating a real globally respected luxury brand. And I've had this conversation with a lot of folks, a lot of Black folks, and some agree and some don't agree. But thing is, this is my journey, and I feel like I know how I want to do it. But the first like 4 or 5 years, I didn't come out as a Black founder. I stayed kind of quiet behind the scenes and let my team be out, because, like it or not, when I wanted to create a real luxury brand, European luxury brand that can like stand head and shoulders above the Dom Perignons of the world, above the brands that you think of as true luxury. I didn't want it to just be a Black-owned brand. And totally. I felt like the world will look at it as a Black-owned brand and not a luxury brand. And the underlying thing is I want people to look at it as a real luxury brand, and I want the world to know that a Black man can create a real luxury brand.
We definitely want to get into that, because that is definitely something that is so true. And I think that holds true for us too, right? Like with our brand and what we have. So I want to get into that.
Okay.
Before we get into that,
all right,
I'm going to back it up a little bit, because we did talk about, or like I mentioned it, and I just want you to kind of just tell the people real quick, just like you started the brand early 2013.
Yes.
You had stage 3 small intestinal.
So so you do your homework. I love that. 2013, the brand, I incorporated the company. That's what I said. So I knew I wanted to do that in 2013. Had very little money, so it took me a while to get it off the ground. 2.5, 3 years into it, June 1st, 2016, I was diagnosed with stage 3 adenocarcinoma. I can't even pronounce it, but stage 3 small bowel cancer. Knocked me off my feet. Had to do 9 months of chemo, like a week on, a week off. So like a week on, I would work from home because I was throwing up 24/7, and so I had to work from home. But then that other week, I would be out like grinding, and that was really what got me out of bed, what kept me going, and really what, like, I don't like saying it too much because I don't want to discount what people are going through, but like I had so much purpose during that time. To me, it was literally like, it didn't scare me any more than like a flu. It was just like I knew where I was going. For me, you know, when I met with obstacles, I quickly figure out, you know, what the plan is, what the, you know, how to execute, and I just do it. I just keep moving, you know, and I control what I can control. I didn't, you know, my mom used to hate when I said it, but I'm like, whether I live for like, you know, another year or another 80 years, I'm gonna live the same way. So, you know, so that's kind of what got me through it. I just felt like this is, I feel like great stories have a lot of sad or tough times in them, and I was like, this is just part of the story. It just makes the story sweeter. That's honestly how I looked at it. It just makes the story sweeter. Like this movie's getting good, you know. And that's really how I looked at it. Like, you know, it didn't feel good, but it's like, I'm going through this.
To look at it, and I think it's a hallmark of a true entrepreneur, right? Because even outside of this major moment in your life, major health moment in anyone's life, if anyone was hit with that kind of news, it sounds like throughout your entrepreneurial journey, throughout your, you know, the adult years of your life, it really was a lot of the trends of setbacks and then stepping on over them.
I'm big on, and honestly, you hit it on the money. It is the hallmark, because I'm big on being comfortable, being uncomfortable, like finding comfort in the discomfort, because that is, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to be uncomfortable most of the time, you know? And if you can't find comfort in that, it is going to be a miserable journey, you know? And so people, you know, when I talk about things that I learned from football, that was one of the things. As a football player, any football player you talk to, any hockey player, any basketball athletes in general, you always have some type of ailing, a hurt pinky, a hurt toe, a headache, this. You're never fully like comfortable or healthy, and you still have to perform. And so that's like, you know, finding comfort in the discomfort is what has brought me this, you know, as far as I've been able to go.
I think that that's like super inspiring, and you know, because at the end of the day, like some people will get a diagnosis like that and think like, oh, life's over, like this is it, like this is where it ends for me,
or put everything else to the side to say I have to focus on this right now.
But you found it to be like, okay, like this is a challenge I'm going through, and at the end of the day, like I'm gonna be here, so I might as well like try to make my stamp as, you know, as long as I have. And thank God let's just put it out there, you are in remission, you are cancer free, you have survived it. So I want to congratulate you on that.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, if you're a person that needs sympathy, you like people feeling sorry for you, it's a perfect time to have people feel sorry for you. Like, I'm not that person, and I didn't want that, and that's the quickest way to, like, you know, for your health to go south. Like, you know, it's that me being, you know, as optimistic and as positive as I am is really what you know, got me through that. I was like, it was bad because I was getting like Facebook messages from like old, you know, people that knew, and it kind of got around, from like old classmates in high school, and they were like, when they found out what I had, they were like, oh, Rickey, like you're always so nice to me. Thank you so much for all you've done. You know, basically like writing me off like it's a wrap. Like, thank you for being such a nice guy. I'm like, listen, I ain't going nowhere. Like, but then I didn't realize like they had been looking up like what I had. They had been looking up like the mortality rates, and it was high, you know. And so because typically what I had, people over like 60 get. And so they're not able to take the amount of chemo that I was able to take at a younger age. So the survival rates are very low. And so that's what people were seeing. I know that's what they're seeing, because that's how they were writing me off, like I was a goner. And it was freaking me out for a little bit, but then I'm like, you know, we're gonna be good.
I'm sure it's one of those things. I mean, not to trivialize that at all, but you know, some folks, like, even if I get like multiple happy birthday messages or multiple like just folks reaching out, I'm just kind of, or if I'm going through something and a lot of folks reach out, after all, I'm just like, okay, like, please stop. Please stop. It's gonna be okay. I figured it out. I feel like at that point, it's almost like I have to put the armor up and I have to be stronger for everyone else, because I don't need anyone else thinking this or that way about me or what I'm going through. We're gonna be okay.
I think that's so true. And like, just to add a little extra antidote in there, like, I think my dad realized I think he was like, it's been 9 years now. Like, he got diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Oh, wow.
And then they removed it, and like he was in remission and all the things. And right now he's kind of going through a little bit more of like a health scare. So like, but my dad's in his 70s, right?
Got it.
So I always tease him. I'm like, Dad, you promised me you're gonna be here till 90. Like my grandfather lived to 90, my grandmother lived to 90. Like, Dad, you have till 90. Like, we're gonna get you through this. So like, I totally understand. Like now for me, I'm like, all right, Dad, what are we doing? Like, let's live it up. We're going to a Rams game. We're gonna be courtside at the Lakers, or what are we doing, Dad? Like,
yeah, I gotta hang out.
I love that. And I tell people too, like whether you're doing entrepreneurship, whether you're an entrepreneur or doing anything else, the one thing I can guarantee you is that the storm is gonna come. And you just have to know that it's gonna pass. But also not be naive enough to think that it's not gonna come again. Like it's gonna come, and you got to know it's gonna pass, and then you enjoy, when it's not there, and then it might come again, and you got to do the same thing, and that's life,
I think kind of another thing too, and I feel like you've kind of explained it through your own health scare and what you've been going through, but really when it comes to your entrepreneurship journey too, you mentioned there were a number of ideas that you put out there and that you were really working hard at, but that quote unquote failed, that you had to pivot. What are some of those major takeaways outside of you knowing that, no, I love brands? Some of those major takeaways that you took from failing and even deciding to say, no, I'm going to start business number 3. I'm going to start.
I say, well, this is like business number 6, but I say fail, but it's really not a fail. It's a learning experience. And I'm not just trying to be cliche. There's a reason, like sometimes I think like when you hear like those stories, oh, this entrepreneur, he's a billionaire now, but he failed a bunch of times. It's going to be okay. I think sometimes people take that as like motivation. Like, no, like that's the formula. Like you start businesses, you learn, you don't know what you're doing, you fail. Maybe that's not the best word. You don't get the business to the point where you want to get it to, but you learn everything up until that point. And there are things that you didn't do well that were probably the cause of your business failing that you won't do again. So now, okay, those things, those are real learning. So you'd actually gain something from that. You take that and you apply that to the next business, right? And then those other mistakes you're not making again. Now you're making new mistakes, and now you're going to take that. And so that's why when you hear the phrase "fail fast, fail forward," that's what it is. Like learn as much as you can, boom, apply it to the next one. Learn as much as you can, boom. And that's what it's been like. And I'm learning every day, And so, I think being a listener, learning in every opportunity you can, in every conversation you can, is really how you get there faster. And I'm a student. I look at myself as a student. Every opportunity I get to learn, I'm absorbing it and I'm applying it, And so what I've done lately is I've made contact with like a lot of the top COOs, CEOs of a lot of the top luxury brands. Like, by the way, I need to connect you with Rodney Williams, who's the CEO of Belvedere, is a brother, and he's a super sharp cat. And so I, surround myself with people like that have done it at a high level, that aren't necessarily entrepreneurs, but can provide me with some of the do's and don'ts to get to where I want to be.
I think that's a great point, because I think that we talk to a lot of people, and the idea is like entrepreneur, like it's just the idea of like, oh, I'm in a room with all the entrepreneurs, and like that's what you have to use to build. But like you're saying, you have the resources to people who are CEOs, people who are in high places, like they don't have to be owning their own businesses to give you that piece of nugget or that knowledge that you need.
Because most entrepreneurs don't have, I'm not saying this is across the board, but the ones that I know that have done it at a high level aren't as polished or don't have the necessary skills. They're not necessarily specialists. Entrepreneurs are generalists for the most part. They know how to do a lot of things. They're flexible. They have a higher tolerance for risk. They have, they're different cats. But to get to where you want to be, you need specialists, and the specialists are the people that went to school for this. They know how to operate. These guys are surgeons at what they do. And so I think the entrepreneurs needed to like have the vision and then kind of like put specialists in place to execute the vision. Most entrepreneurs aren't fit to execute the vision at a high level.
And I think that's the
Wearing
most
too many
important
hats.
thing to know,
Wearing too many
because you know
hats.
you're wearing too many hats, or this is your baby, this is your vision. People don't know how to take a step back and sometimes say, no, yes, this is my vision and I made the idea and I crafted this, but I don't need to be the president.
It's the best. It's the best.
Right.
This is not a name dropping exercise, but I'm just telling this because this has really affected. It took me from, having a cool brand and it looking like it's doing all right to the business actually growing. And I had an opportunity to go to Africa with Richard Branson. And the one thing I'll tell you about that, and by the way, I paid for that opportunity, so I'm not trying to flex like, oh no, I just know Richard Branson. There was an opportunity for me to pay for this charity trip in Africa. It was the African Prisons Project, and part of that opportunity, I got to spend a lot of one-on-one time with them. And the one thing that I took from it is, I was texting or I was emailing and working while we were out on a game drive, like, trying to enjoy these animals, and I'm working. And he was like, that is why if you continue like that, you'll never get to where you want to be based on what we've talked about. You'll never get to where you want to be because you out here working. He's like, the reason I can own 40 businesses is because when I have the idea, I have the vision, and then it's my number one goal to fire myself when I have to find someone that can run the business better than I can run it. So then I can be out here and I can have 100% confidence that they're running it better than I would. I don't have to worry about it. They just contact me when they need some type of oversight.
Rickey, we need to fire ourselves. I heard you. I heard it.
Yes, I'm telling you. It's when I tell you, it was the most unlocking, like liberating feeling to, and it was uncomfortable for me at first. One time I hired an assistant, and she ended up not lasting more than like 6 months not because she wasn't capable, but because I didn't know how to use an assistant. I never had an assistant. The reason I got it is because I started having all these missed meetings and missed calls, and I'm not organized. So I'm like, oh, maybe I just need an assistant for that. But I'm so used to doing things myself that like I would schedule my own meetings instead of say, hey, can you, I felt like that was a waste of time, that extra step where I just thought that like most people do that for vanity. Oh, I'll have my assistant set it up for you. And I'm just like, just set it up. Like, to me, that was stupid. Like, I hated that. And I didn't want to be that. And so like she ended up just being like, you don't even use me. Like, cause I'm used to doing it myself. But to take the energy it takes to run a business and like do all the X's and O's and put that energy into people that are capable of doing that for you so that you can take all of, your brain, and use that creativity towards what it's intended for and not for, all the little stuff. That's the most.
You have an assistant now. That's the question.
No, I don't.
Are you looking for an assistant? Somebody out there might be looking for a job, Rickey.
100%. And I'm telling you, it'll be very fun. I'm very crazy though. And I'm very unorganized and I'm not the best. I love to communicate, but sometimes I don't communicate my plan and vision the best. Like I'm still getting better at it. Like, so what I've done now is I'm building a team, but of specialists that can do all the left brain stuff that I'm not necessarily good at doing, but I need to get to the next level.
I think that's so great. And I want to just take it a step back because we definitely, shout out to you, Boo. You were amazing, by the way, but it was just more, we needed to figure out the same sort of thing. Yeah. Like, what do we really need? Yeah, I didn't want to call her out.
No, call her out. Shout out to Serenity. She helped us out for a little bit.
But if you don't know how to use them, it's hard. Like, and that's when I talk to like some of these mentors of mine, like these are some of the questions that I just the little stuff that you wouldn't think about. Like you think, oh, I got an assistant, my problems are solved, but they're not. Like you gotta know how to use them and empower them to make decisions that you don't have to make, because if they're coming to you for every little thing, then that's even taking up more of your time and you could just did it yourself. So like knowing how to empower them to do the things so you don't have to worry about them is the real key, like, to get to where you're going.
How do you figure out, because I want to just touch on this one time for someone who might need the tactical, like, okay, but what does that mean for me and where I'm at? You figured out you needed a team to deal with your left side of things. The thing, like, how did you figure out this is what I'm actually missing. This is what I actually need, a full-time person or part-time, whatever, a person that would specialize in this factor, in that factor, in that factor of the business. How did you figure that out?
I think for me, because I have investors, you know, you have things like quarterly reports and financials and all this stuff I don't like to do. And, you know, I had a guy a very successful guy that I went to high school with, very successful businessman. And he shadowed me for like 2 months and just to observe, because he really wanted to help me get to where I'm going. And my biggest weakness was follow up. He'll see my schedule. He's like, man, your strength is like, you know, activity. You effort is not your problem. I'll have 20 calls in a day. And he's just like, that's way too much. And he'll sit there with me through all these things. And some of these calls, his eyebrows are raised like, wow, like, you know, but then I had no time allocated for follow up after these calls. So I wasn't getting a lot done. You would think the people I'm talking to, the things we're talking about, oh, things are happening, but nothing was getting done because my follow up was weak. So I needed a person that can really like help me with follow up. Two, he had me jot down during the day every single thing that I do, from using the bathroom to drinking water to calling, and writing down everything that either gave me life or drained my energy. And he told me to take the things that drain you and zap your energy and give those to somebody else. Take the things that give you life, and those are the things you need to be doing. And so the goal was to get my time back. And so doing financials, doing quarterly reports, you know, compliance, and there's a lot of that in alcohol. All that stuff I hated doing. And so I wanted someone that enjoyed, you know, someone that enjoyed doing that, which I didn't think was possible. But I have a guy that works for me now, Brendan. He enjoys that stuff. And I don't understand it, but I love it. And it makes me happy. And so to answer your question, like, how did I find out what I needed? I just knew what I didn't like to do and wanted someone who liked to do that stuff so that I didn't have to worry about it, you know, and everybody can do what they want to do.
That helps a ton. And I think, and I just want to drive that home and say that really applies to folks who may work in like a company, for instance, and
exactly
their next
across
job.
The board,
literally, if you start writing out the things that you loved about this meeting, hated about this meeting, girl, you're gonna figure out where you need to be. Yes.
And a great book for that. Listen, I'm no scholar. I'm telling you, I don't have my degree. I went to college, but I didn't finish. So I don't have. What I love to do is just share the things that help me. That. And that guy gave me a book called The 4-Hour Work Week, which a lot of people know about. Mm-hmm. And I always knew about the 4-hour work week and the basic concept of it. But until I read it, I was like, no, that's
it's really
an entrepreneur or you work within a company, that is a key book, like on how to get your time back and how to do the things that you want to do and have everything else, you know, operationalize everything else so you don't have to worry about it.
For sure.
For a while, like, and this is part to go back to your question. This is part of how I realized I needed somebody else, because for me, like the financials and all that stuff, I would just not do it. And then like my investors are pounding on my door like, hey, we need to see, you know, financials. I'm like, oh damn, I just figured like no one would ask. I just wouldn't do it. And then it became a problem. So I'm like, yeah, no, I need to get someone handling that. Some of this stuff can't go undone, you know, and so it's just super important just to compliment yourself with people that know how and enjoy doing the things you don't want to do.
Compliment yourself with people who know how to do the things you don't want to do. Yes. One more thing, because you are spinning all the gems and you had that teed up, but I want to touch back on the luxury.
There's a ton of other things.
Okay, so one thing I think we really need to figure out is really the idea of luxury and being a Black founder in that space, because I think you're not saying anything that other people haven't thought or haven't said.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
And, like, you know, in terms of folks who want to be revered as that French brand, that Italian brand, why we feel like luxury needs to be from, you know, Western Hemisphere is a whole new conversation. But that's, you know, obviously you being a Black person, a Black man who wants to found and build something that can sustain in the luxury space that wasn't like from the 1800s, 1900s, and you know, has that history behind it.
At the end of the day, we don't have that history.
We don't have the history behind it. And so like, just want to talk more about what does it mean to you and why did you feel like, you know what, those first couple of years of starting up years, you don't need to know.
Oh, that's a great question. And see, for me, it was less about like, there are times, you just sparked an idea, but anyway, there are times you know, when I wish, like, you know, I just did my 23andMe or whatever, or Ancestry or whatever, like recently. And, you know, people always, because I'm lighter, people would always ask if I'm mixed and all that. And I'm like, nah, my mom's black, my dad's black. And
Amen.
like,
Okay.
nah, but you have something there, you know. Like, so I always said that, but I didn't really know it. Not that my ancestry of me, and I'm 87% Negro. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I say that to say that, like, there, you know, as a black man, it would be cool to, you know, so like put yourself in the shoes of an Italian. That Italian's gonna make like Italian products. He's proud of it. He represents it. Like, if I was from a place and lived in a place and lived that culture, like, I probably wouldn't want to go anywhere else, and I probably would want to create. But like for me, like, just being honest, and I love Africa, and I've never felt more whole than when I went to Africa and was amongst the people. And it was a just different, almost like an unexplainable feeling. Like, it felt good, right? And so like, yeah. So I don't necessarily. You said something. I don't think we have. I feel like you have to go to like a European country for it to be luxury. For me, because I don't necessarily have a home base. Like, to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily even consider like, I don't look at America like home. Like, it's not. I'm not. There's not an American flag in front of my house. Like, it's not like I don't have a lot of pride about it. I'm proud to be an American person. Yes, for sure. Like, I'm here. I've been in other countries. You know, I was, you know, just in the Middle East, and like, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to live in America. Like, I'm good with that. Like, we have a lot of good things. I'm grateful for a lot of things, but it's not like I'm out repping it. You know, like an Italian would rep it, or like a Jamaican would rep it. The reason I went to Italy is because I feel like in the vodka world, one, I got into vodka because I felt like I wanted to do luxury, and I felt like the vodka category had the most room for elevation. I didn't think there were any true luxury brands. There's some expensive brands, but like, there weren't any true luxury brands that like rang like a Dom Perignon. You know, like the Belvedere is probably the closest. When you think Belvedere, you do think high end. You know, but I felt like there was the most opportunity there. Vodka is the most saturated, over competitive market, because vodka of all spirits is probably the easiest to make. And so there's not a lot of differentiation.
Even more than tequila? I feel like
More than tequila. More than tequila. Tequila, now the tequila category is hot right now, especially premium tequila. But yeah, even more than tequila, just because it's the easiest to make. You don't need to age it, so you just make it. Even tequila, even the blanco is just, you know, you just make it, and you have to put it in barrels at least 3 months. Like, you know, so like vodka you can make today, and, you know, so it's easier. So there's a lot of players. So I knew that it had to be different. You know, it had to be different. And I didn't want to be different just to be different. I didn't want it to be gimmicky. I didn't want to put it in a skull bottle, or I didn't want to, you know, say that, you know, there's gold inside of it. Like, I wanted to come from a place that people already like associate with luxury. Italian luxury is very easy to market. I wanted the ingredients to be incredible, and the organic winter wheat in the Piedmont region, northern Italy, is the absolute best that no one really uses for vodka. And then I wanted to do two processes on it, or a process. I wanted the process to be different, but not just to say that it's different. I wanted to actually like tangibly affect the liquid. And so, so we filter it through raw black diamonds, and it makes it super, super, super clean, which is it's a great story. And it extracts impurities that a conventional filter can extract. So the cleanliness is incredible. Like, you don't get that ethanol taste that you normally get from vodka. And then we micro-oxygenate it, which in short is just pumping oxygen into it and giving it a wine-like consistency. So when you swirl it in a glass, it'll coat the glass like a wine. It's very creamy. It's enjoyable. And so Italy is I went there because, like I said, because of the sexiness. But early on, I didn't. I'll tell you a story, and this is kind of supports why I didn't want to come out. So the first few years, I'm like, I'm gonna be quiet because I don't want to be out there. I don't want the brand just to be, you know, categorized as a Black-owned brand. Like, I want to dominate luxury. And so the plan was like, just be quiet, get into all these, like, quietly get into all these Michelin star restaurants, get into, you know, all the, you know, high-end luxury hotels. And so people start seeing it there, and it starts to become this thing. And then like jumping out, like, it's me, right? Like, like after it's already earned its stripes as a luxury brand, because if I get out there talking, it's going to be a vodka that a black man owns. I want it to be that eventually, but I want it to earn its stripes by itself.
Get a fair chance in the market.
Exactly.
I think that is really interesting, and I think that there's someone else that I know that has a luxury watch brand, and
that we interviewed,
and he said the same thing. He said he doesn't want to be known as necessarily like a black-owned watch business,
But like, you'll have black because I have them, and you'll have black friends that'll be like, nah, like represent that, like nah, but listen, I'm playing chess, not checkers, like. I want it to dominate. And I know you can either complain and be like, oh no, the world's messed up. It shouldn't matter. The fact is it does matter. If depending on what you do, like I want to win and I want it to be a luxury brand. And I want to show the world that a black man can do this and has done it. And so, I had this one account in Orange County. I'm not gonna put them out there like that, but I had this one account that was ordering a bunch of product for a restaurant, an Italian restaurant in Los Angeles, was ordering a bunch of product. And I would see the depletion reports and I'd be like, dang, they're ordering a bunch of product. So for me, I like to, if people order product, I like to go and host dinners and support them, go buy drinks. And so I went one time and it was like 2.5 years ago. I went one time and started buying drinks. And most places I go, I'll order it, but I won't tell them that I own the brand. I just want to hear what they would say, like asking as a customer, right? And so, so I asked the waiter. I said, "Oh yeah, what's this vodka right here? This Carbonadi, whatever." And she goes into this whole explanation. Oh, it's filtered through black diamonds and the whole spiel. It's from, they use water from the Swiss Alps and the blah 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 blah, like this whole thing. And I'm like, oh, that's dope. Like you really. And then I told her, like, hey, by the way, like I own this brand. It told her in a cool way, not a douchey way. But so she goes and gets the owner of the restaurant, Italian. And we start talking, boom, 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 boom. I kind of felt a little, you can feel love from somebody, but they're kind of not feeling you. They're just kind of like, oh, nice to meet you. So when I tell you they went from ordering like, for a high-end restaurant, ordering like 4 cases, for us, it's like 24 bottles. That's a lot of product for a restaurant, because think about it, in a 1 liter bottle, it's like 16 cocktails. So ordering 24 bottles a month, for us, that's a big account. They went from ordering at least that every single month to ordering zero. So I'm like, that's why I didn't want to do that, Wow. And listen, that's not indicative of how they all are. Listen, the Italian community loves me. Like, I go to the Italian spots, they give me big old hugs like I'm their family. Like, shout out like Il Pastel, Via Laura, Cicconi's, Dantana's, they all show love. Like, the Italian community is dope. But just like in every race, you're gonna have, some bad apples. And that was one of those situations that was the reason why I was trying to avoid that.
It's so evident too.
And I think that totally makes sense. And I think that that's exactly why, I think, just to share an anecdote and then we'll go back into it. Yeah. Like, for us, like we have a brand literally on our sweatshirts called the Black Creators Club. And so I think going into a room and, talking to it, because when you tell people like, oh, I have a podcast, or, oh, we have a media company or whatever, people are curious. They want to know like, oh, what is it? What is it? And you tell them, and it's like someone who's not Black. I'm like, it's the Black Creators Club. I always have hesitancy saying it because it feels awkward now at that point. Like, are they going to want to go and watch it and see it and be interested in what we have to say?
The topics cross all races in a sense, but
so it's awkward sometimes. And even, I'm thinking, right now we're a small brand. It's like small, it's been a year, but I'm thinking, okay, if we go into those bigger rooms or going into conversations with other people, or, how do you cross, we're thinking about how do we cross, the allies with us, with the name that's so blatant. So it's all of the things, and it does become kind of like
hold on, you sparked on 2 things.
Yeah.
You're not a small brand. You're a big brand that not a lot of people know about yet.
Love.
And because you have to move like that. You have to move like that to become that. Obama was moving like Obama before he was Obama.
Before.
You have to move like that. So you're a big brand that people just don't know about it. And now it's just your job to get people to know about it. And 2, I think aligning, there's a lot of like cross promo you can do. Like, I think aligning with, brands, even big brands, mass market brands that just have some of your same values. You know, a lot of these brands, there's never been a better time than now. You know, a lot of these brands are doing some cool things. What was it? Who was it? Matter of fact, let me check real quick.
I know Target's been doing a ton of
Look at
stuff.
here. You don't have to look at it. I'll look at it right now.
We love it. Look what's happening.
Nike, on the Nike Instagram,
Nike is, yeah.
180 million followers.
Mm-hmm.
Their profile on Instagram, spotlighting athlete and stories. Hashtag Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate. That's in their profile.
Yep.
180 million people. Like, you can see where their values are, whether they're doing that for business and optics and whatever, whether they mean it or not, it don't matter. They have, like, that's part of what they're trying to do now. Like, you know, so there's like, you know, definitely ways you can align with big brands that can instantly like legitimize you to the masses. Not that you're not legitimate, but being legitimate to the masses is different. And you know, a good friend of mine, his first investor was Nike. In his company, he had a magazine, and his first investor, he ended up selling the company, but his first investor was Nike because they, you know, and Nike wanted to be part of it because it aligned with what they were trying to do too. And so, like, I think just finding people with, you know, like values. There's another book I'm gonna tell you, like any book I tell you, like, so like you might talk to people, and I see a lot of interviews and people throw out these books because there's always an agenda and it sounds cool to throw out books. But any book that I tell you, it's changed my approach. It's changed me. So like there's another book called it's called Crossing the Chasm, CHASM. And it just talks about like how brands, 99% of brands die. So you have the early adopters, the innovators. Then you have the innovators, the early adopters, and then there's this gap, this chasm. And then on the other side of that gap is the early majority, and then the majority, late majority, laggards. So innovators are those ones that are like those people you knew that before the iPhone 13 came out, they were already on the waiting list. They got to be the first people to have the new device. Like, they don't care if it works good, doesn't work good, they want the new one. Then the laggards are like my mom. Like, she didn't start using Uber till like 2 weeks ago when like it's a normal thing. It's like already on your phone. Everybody uses it. There's no question about its ability to deliver. And so the early adopters and that gap, and then the early majority, the money is when you jump the gap. The money is with the early majority. That's when you become a brand and everybody knows about you. But they talk about like your marketing, everything you're doing, your marketing, your promotion has to be targeted at one of those groups at a time. Or it's going to be mixed marketing. It's going to be like, it's going to be for everybody, so it's going to be for nobody. So like early on, your marketing and who you're talking to, and if you're running ads for your platform or whatever, everything has to be targeted towards the innovators and early adopters. Because if the first is the innovators, because the early adopters ain't messing with it unless the innovators messing with it. Then the early adopters like the innovators messing with it. Okay, so we messing with it. So then you market to the early adopters, and then so they really start to connect with it. Once they connect with it, then the early majority's connecting with it because they're like, oh, do they mess with it? All right, they mess with it. But you have to market to one group at a time. You know, boom,
I love that.
boom. So like,
that is the best advice you could have honestly given, on top of the fact that like, yes, we're going to write these books down. We're going to give you guys those books on the Instagram so you guys can keep a point of them. And Rickey, we're going to talk to you after the interview, make whatever other books you have, please.
Listen, I'm telling you, it's like, it is, and you've heard it. So I ain't like saying it, but like, the more you read, all the answers are out there. The more powerful you become. You ever read a book and you like, damn, like you already feel smarter. I can't wait to like apply this to my life. Like, you reading it, and so that it's constant, and that's how, you know, all the top people are doing it. That book, actually, a guy at my younger brother, who's the scholar of the family, he was at Stanford. I used to always go visit him. Now I'll go around talking to professors, and there was this one professor who was like, hey, this is the tech. Every tech billionaire, it's very tech focused, but you can take the principles and apply it anywhere. Every tech billionaire, this is their Bible. Like, this is how they market. This is how they market products. And when it focuses your marketing, your marketing becomes more effective. It like changes everything. And most people are gonna, you know, not listen to that. But I'm telling you, that book will change the way you do things. And so for you guys, it's like, You need the innovators and early adopters in your world are going to be the people that are out and they're all about Black empowerment. And I'm not just talking, I'm talking like even big brands. Find the brand like Nike, like the Black Creators Club, like that sounds fire. Like I can see Nike like putting their name all over that. Like whether that's what you want to do or not, I'm just saying like
we want to do it all. Whatever works, Ricky. We want to make whatever works, Ricky. That's what we're trying to do.
Depending on what your goals and objectives are, like who can help you get there, like the people that really care about it the most are the ones that are going to be responsible for like making it a thing in the world. So,
I want to get back to you though. Let's bring it back to you. Okay, let's go back to Carbonadi. Okay, so when I think about the name, I just want you to give us a little anecdote on like how the name. I'm assuming it's the diamonds, but
you're gonna love the evolution because early on. So
when I think about your name, I literally am thinking Italy, carbonara pasta, and Illuminati. Like that is what
and I've heard every single one of those. 100%. I've heard every single, so it's like it's great feedback. I love hearing it because sometimes you have to listen to what people are hearing and receiving, and you're either good with what they're hearing or you're not, and you change it up. But so it started out early on when I first jumped in, had no idea what I was doing. It's still the name of my parent company, like the company that is the holding company that investors invest to. It's called Q Spirit, CUE, because it was called Q Vodka, CUE. And I was like, I don't know. I was just thinking I'm like, this is your cue to have a good time. This is your cue to, I look back at it and laugh, and I'm like, I was dumb as hell. But like, so it evolved. And then I came across the process. And then it was a product called Black Diamond Vodka. Then I sat with that for a little bit. And then I actually created a bottle, and at the time I thought it looked dope. And then, dealing with working with some luxury consultants, and like how Black Diamond's kind of too in your face, it's gimmicky. People are gonna think too much about the diamonds, and it's like for your consumer, your innovator, your innovator, your early adopter, at that price point in luxury, they're a very sophisticated consumer. So
what is the price point? By the way,
so for a $750, it's about $60 to $70 depending on where you go. Versus like a Tito's, which is like 20 or 24, so it's about 10% higher than like, your gold, your Grey Gooses, and it's a little bit higher. I didn't want to price it. I wanted to price it above to distinguish ourselves from the pack, but I didn't want to outprice the market because you can. And so it's Black Diamond Vodka. That's too on your face and me thinks me kind of gimmicky, because if you Google diamond filtered vodka, you'll get all these crazy options. Oh, it touches all these diamonds, and that's why it's expensive. It's like retarded. That's not what I was trying to do. So then it's the Black diamonds in their rawest form are called carbonados. And so that's what we filter it through. And so I brought it back to the process, and I wanted people to focus more on the science and the process of it than it touching diamonds, and people love that story, but there wasn't a lot of depth to it if all you do is like think it just touches diamonds. So people are what are carbonados. So and Carbonadi is just the Italian plural for carbonados. That's where the name came from, and I loved it. And I remember being on the 5 South Freeway. Like I remember when I thought of it, so I was on the phone with my consultant, and it's like, yeah, Black Diamonds, it's not working. And so I was just thinking through, thought about the process, the stones, and that's how we came up with the name. But yeah, I've heard the Illuminati thing, I've heard the carbonara, they heard all of it.
It kind of goes back to the process, and so that's good. It's not like a name out of thin air. At least it's like some sort of like
there's a tie.
It's some sort of tie-in, and I think that always helps. I want to make sure that we touch on too the fact that you already highlighted why vodka for you specifically, why it worked for your brand. But I gotta say, cognacs, the dark liquors, they have the Black community in a chokehold. Okay, like when we talk about Hennessy's, when we talk about the cognacs, when we talk about people who want to, whether they be in the entertainment lifestyle and always are thinking of, oh my gosh, I want to open my own liquor brand. You always think more of the darker liquors. And a lot of luxury liquors too are darker as well. And so why was it that you decided that to say, you know what, vodka is really more my speed? And I think not only for it to be luxury, but for it to also attract my community. We can
and also Ricky, just to add in there, because it's just a little piece, which is like part of the question, so you can like get it all out, is the like you're intentional with your marketing because it's exclusive. It's not Ciroc. It's not in everyone's household. It's exclusive. So talk about that too while you answer her question.
For sure. So for me, vodka was like, so when you go back to it, even to this day, I mean, the reports come out every year, but even up until last year, vodka is 34, almost 35% of all spirits consumed in the US. So it's like a large part of the market. People drink vodka. 99% of that vodka is in a mixed vodka cocktail. Not by itself. Even for me, I didn't even drink. I remember going to this I remember going to this bar with our restaurant, hotel with the buddy one time, and he ordered vodka on the rocks. I remember it was Kettle One on the rocks. And I just thought, like, what a old man drink to order. Like, who does that? And then I ordered it with him. I'm like, because he talked about how good it was. So I tried it and it just wasn't enjoyable for me. But people drink a lot of vodka. And so when I jumped into the game, I didn't want to necessarily create like a whole new spirit. I wanted to create a bigger, better version of what was already out there and people were already drinking. So to me, it was like jumping into the fashion world. So it was like, you know, a t-shirt is a t-shirt is a t-shirt, but if you brand it right, you can charge $300 for that t-shirt. And that's what I wanted to do, but with depth, you know. And part of the elevation was drinking it by creating a product that you can drink by itself and enjoy it. And not most people are drinking stuff straight, even people that you think drink a lot of alcohol, and they don't enjoy it. It's just, it looks good, it tastes all right, it gets them feeling how they want to feel, but they're not enjoying what's in the cup. Like if you were to drink, you know, some root beer, like they don't enjoy it. Like you buy a soft drink because you enjoy the flavor. Most people that say and I've learned this, most people, when I say most, I'm about 95% of people that say they enjoy alcohol, they don't enjoy that taste. Like, who enjoys that? Like, it might enhance a vibe, right? It might, you know, now there's some wine, if you can learn to appreciate wine and you pair it with this and that, like, it can like take the flavors in different places. But at the end of the day, hard alcohol, no one's really enjoying it. So what I wanted to do was like create a product that, now it's still 40% alcohol, so it's still alcohol. Okay. But if I poured almost any other vodka in a cup and had you drink it, you're gonna make a face. The goal of Carbonadi is for there to be no face and for you to just enjoy it. And when I say enjoy it, I mean drink it and then have every effect any other vodka is gonna have, just like 40% alcohol, but you're not gonna make a face and you're not gonna have to chase it with anything. You'll be able to either enjoy it on a large cube like I do, or in an ice cold martini with nothing else in it except the vodka and the lemon twist. And it's gonna be nice and cold and refreshing, and you're not gonna make any face, and it's gonna get you feeling how you wanna feel. And that when I say enjoy, it's like if 0 is no taste at all, and -10 is like you're making bitter beer face, and like 10 is this is the most tasty stuff in the world, I wanna be at 0. Yeah. Like it's gonna be, you're gonna drink it, it's gonna be cold, and it's gonna taste like, there's gonna be some character, but you know, you're not gonna be making a face. You can drink it and give me another one. And that's why it can be dangerous.
Okay, I want to try some Carbonadi.
Most people, like, even especially girls, will be like, I don't drink vodka like that. I'm like, just try it. So they'll drink it, and then you can tell they'll be like waiting for that smack of ethanol in the face, like, and then they're like, oh, like I can drink this, you know. And so when people drink it, I always tell them, if anybody's watching, I always tell them, take the first sip, kind of like coat your mouth with it. That's going to be the strongest sip because it's prepping your palate. So it's still going to taste like alcohol. It's still going to be but then after that, that's the telltale. It's always the second sip of any spirit. Prep your palate, then drink it. So after that, it's going to be like, you're going to be like, this is dangerous.
I love that. And that was kind of going to be my next question. Like, you know, wine, you mentioned wine.
Hold on. I felt like I didn't answer what your question was.
The whole idea of just, and you kind of did when it came to just like the fact that it's not a -10. And yes,
but with the marketing piece, because I know like in an interview you did say that you purposely targeted like high-end hotels, high-end restaurants, and that type of thing. And that's a purposeful thing because it's not commercialized. So I guess kind of what was that
For
One
sure.
question is how has that been successful? How has that been working for you? And then two, what was the marketing mentality behind that strategy?
So this is going to be like a 3-chapter explanation. The first one is going to be Sidney Frank was this guy that, yeah, you're familiar with Jägermeister?
Yeah.
So Sidney didn't own Jägermeister, but he owned the distribution rights in the United States. Sidney built that brand with charm, great personality, because it tastes like crap. But he built it and he put it everywhere because every place he walked into, they loved him. And that happens in this world with great personalities. So Sidney, once he had, there you go. Once he had built the brand and had Jaeger everywhere, remember, the money he was making was good because, but he only had distribution rights, so it was limited. So he said, wow, I have Jägermeister everywhere. I should create a brand, my own brand, because now I have all the relationships. I'll create a brand and put it everywhere. So he created Grey Goose. That was in 1997 is when he created Grey Goose. Wow. 7 years later, in 2004, he sold it for $2.2 billion. He ended up dying a few years later. He by the way, he started Grey Goose when he was like in his 70s. He was older. And I say that to say that Jaeger was everywhere. So when he started Grey Goose, he could have put Grey Goose everywhere, but it would have been a mass market brand. He said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the high-end places, the high-end hotels, fine dining restaurants, so people make that association. So when they go to those places, they know, they see that. Whenever they want that, they have to go there. He used, back then, today's influencers, he used influential people in those worlds, socialites, to promote that product as the higher end option. At the time, Absolute was the high-end option. Mm-hmm. So he had overtaken Absolute, priced it a little higher, marketed it a little better, and so that was I was kind of mimicking that strategy. And actually, I read about that strategy after we already started doing it, but but he was the originator. He did that. And I did that because you want people to make those associations. So for me, I've taken it a step further. We focus right now, we're in other places, but we focus on Michelin star restaurants. I want people to know that to have this experience, these are the types of places you need to go. These places that care about every item on the menu, there's a process to make it to that menu. So people will start to subconsciously, put you in this category, right? And it's playing on the subconscious. Obviously, we want to be everywhere, but we want people to make that association. We want people to know we're in 80% of Michelin star restaurants. We're not yet, but we're working our way to that. And so that's why I wanted to focus on those types of places. It's an elevated experience. I've talked to some folks that felt like, oh, well, you're only targeting, people that have the money to spend that. And, a lot of, Black folks aren't, you kind of exclude. No, listen, people, that's disrespectful to the Black race. Like we have a very sophisticated,
star restaurants.
Yeah, listen, we have some of the most sophisticated folks in the world. Like, we're out there. Like, that's very disrespectful. Like, to me, that's disrespectful. Like, no, this is just an elevated vodka experience. For those that like vodka, this is an elevated vodka experience. And so, yeah, the marketing's been great. Now, I will tell you this, though, and this is kind of where I was on I've had really deep discussions about this, the marketing. And we haven't really done a ton yet. Where the brand, we're at a point now, the brand's going through this, like, enhancement where it's going to change. Like, what I'm telling you guys now, this brand's going to change in a great way. Like, not the product and not the bottle, but the marketing that you see that's out there. Like, we're in the process. Like, you're going to see a tangible, like, elevation. You're going to be like, okay, damn it, they really doing, like, and it's just learning, right? But yeah, like the I forget where I was going with that. But hold on, what were we talking about?
The marketing.
So I guess it's going to be changing.
Oh yeah. So we were shooting videos and doing this, and like I was like stuck in between. It's an Italian product, so I want to make it as Italian as I can first. So like a lot of the videos that we were doing they didn't represent a lot of ethnic groups. It was Italian, right? And so like, part of me, I've had conversations with folks in my network that I care about, and they're like, you're a Black man and you're running a business, there has to be some like Black folks in your marketing. And I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. That's part of like, I have a plan, I have a plan. First, I want to own that little bit of luxury real estate in people's mind. So I want it to be as Italian. I want people to know it's an Italian brand. I want to hit that on the head. One, because people don't associate vodka in Italy anyway. So I want to hit that Italian element as hard as I can. Then I want to talk to the people, that I would love to see drinking it. Once we have established the brand's identity as the brand, as a product, just like you'll wear some Dolce & Gabbana, just like it's Italian, just like you'll wear some Christian Louboutin, and that's French. Like, I want to establish the brand's heritage from a product and process standpoint. Okay, here's the product. Now let's build community.
Who is it associated with?
But at the same, like, at the end of the day, you got to just know what you want to do and your plan, and stop listening to all these people chirping, and do it how you want to do it. And not everybody's gonna like how you do it, but at the end of the day, I'm the one in the driver's seat.
Exactly. Yeah. And the innovators obviously would get behind you. Kind of going back to that
100%.
You want to make sure that we also touch on who else would get behind all the innovators. And it's the folks, the creators who listen in and watch our show week over week. So we really love that you guys do that. The best way that you can support us is to share the show with a friend and subscribe to our YouTube page or on Apple or Spotify podcasts, and everything is at the Black Creators Club. If you know someone who would love to be on the show, or obviously after listening to this and listening to Rickey chat about everything Carbonadi and everything vodka, make sure that you definitely email us at theblackcreatorsclub@gmail.com. Rickey, if you can let us know where, or let our listeners know where they can find you, or any last bits that you probably want to share.
So online, I always say the best place, because we're not fully nationally distributed. We're in New York, Florida, California, Nevada, like a lot of states of the US, but not everywhere. I think online is the best place to go. There's a lot of delivery services, and we're in just about all of them. But the Total Wines, the Bevmos, the Wallies, and in pretty much any high-end, not any, but most high-end restaurants and retailers.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, I just have to say too, like, the bottle of your brand is of Carbonadi. It literally looks like a wine bottle. Like, I think, it looks like red wine.
Yeah, that's the pay homage to the wine the micro-oxygenation is used to be a really popular wine process, and that's why we wanted to do it.
Everything has intention behind it.
I love that. Amazing. I think it looks so good. Rickey, it's been so amazing, like talking to you and like chatting. And so, Keeks, where can they find you on social?
House of Carbonadi. It's being revamped. So I just erased everything the other day on the Instagram and put like some tile picture. But House of Carbonadi, because we're coming out with all new stuff in the next few weeks.
Love that.
And then Rickey Miller III on Instagram. But I will ask you guys to not do one thing ever again. And you have to promise me that you won't do this ever again, because when I hear the way your little, email us at this and that, you guys are a big brand.
Yes.
You carry yourself like a big brand.
Mm-hmm.
You speak like a big brand. Your scripts, where people can find you, and it's big brand. Don't ever say small brand again.
Yes.
We got you, Rickey. That is a promise. That is a promise.
I understand why you're saying it, because you're thinking of where you are in your development as a brand. But saying you're a small brand, one, doesn't help your self-conscious, and two, doesn't help anything. There is no benefit to saying you're a small brand, because you're not a small brand. And I mean, I can maybe see it in, like, if you're going after like some type of grant and they're like, oh, we want to help small brand, maybe, but you're not a small brand. So stop. So you don't look like a small brand. You don't sound like a small brand. I don't smell you, but I don't think you smell like a small brand. So be a big brand.
Yes.
Rickey,
love that.
That is not the encouraging word of the day, Rickey. You're first off, you come with a whole bunch of knowledge. You're coming in with the heat. You're dropping all the gems. You're letting people know what's up. I love all the book recommendations.
By the way, I'm bummed. I'm bummed. By the way, I have some of the stuff I want to talk about, but
I feel like we need a part two.
We're gonna have to do a part two.
For sure.
I got some juice.
We got to do a tasting too. So
we have to. Like, I got some juice. Like, this is the thing. I can care less about like podcasts and talking to all these different people. But like talking to my community, like there's nothing more like, and I got juice that I share with people all the time that like, not just because I'm special but because I've learned some things that I want to share that people can use, and people are watching your platform because they want to either learn something or be inspired by something, or and I got some of that, and so I want to do a part 2. I'm inviting myself.
Yes. Period. Energy. That's the energy we love. Okay, that's the energy we love to see.
Rickey,
and the clubhouse is always
open for you. Whatever you want, the door is open. Okay, not a problem at all.
This was everything. This was everything.
Okay, so where can they find you on social?
Yes, you can find me chatting the media industry and life motivation, all with a dash of style, at Akila Friend. Where can they find you?
Yes, you guys can find me on Instagram at EbonyChapman12, chatting everything Black-owned business, and of course the Black Creators Club. We've had the most amazing chat, the most amazing talk. You guys heard it first. We're already having a part 2. We're gonna go to Orange County, which is where Carbonadi is, and we're going to hang out with Rickey. We're gonna have a tasting. We're gonna be chilling. We're gonna be giving all the gems. You guys do not want to miss it. So continue to tune in, and we will see you guys next time. Remember to always abide by your ABCs. Always be creating. Bye.